Of Accepted. My name is Linda Abraham. I'm going to be presenting Why MBA today. First of all, I want to start by thanking GMAT Club for hosting this event. And behind the scenes, there is a moderator here, Abhijit, and he's going to be helping out with questions, etc. Speaking of questions, I will be taking your questions at the end of my presentation, which is going to be fairly brief on what is an MBA goal, why MBA, and why it's important. Now, the MBA goal is the most underrated, unappreciated element in the MBA application puzzle, in my opinion. After the GPA and test scores and work experience, it's really the runt in the litter, the ugly duckling, if you will, or the ignored stepchild in the MBA application process for most applicants. I think it's a very unwise approach to take. It really should be the foundational element in your application and your North Star as you begin the process of applying to business school and hopefully being accepted to business school. Now, in the comments window, if you could you please tell me why it should be important, why I'm asking you, and why I'm saying it's important? Anybody want to put in the comments window? Why do you think that I'm advocating? I'll give you my opinion in a second, but I'd just like to hear from you folks why you think it's important, if you do, or why you think I'm advocating its importance. We'll give you a second to post your comments in the comments window. All right, here's one, because it'll help you choose your programs, both when you are applying and if you're lucky enough to enjoy multiple acceptances. Obviously, you have to, again, it should be your North Star. It should help you choose where you're applying. And if you want to choose programs both where you are likely to be accepted and that are likely to accept you, you want to choose programs where you're likely to be accepted and that will help you achieve your goals. If you don't have a goal, that criteria is just lost in the process. And you have to have appropriate goals in order to know if a particular program can help you achieve them. If you want to become a doctor, you're going to go to medical school, not to business school. If you want to specialize in supply chain management, you're going to want to go to a program that is strong in supply chain management. Now, MIT Sloan is typically number one in supply chain management and across rankings. And there's no question that it's outstanding in that area, but it's also very hard to get into. CMU Tepper is a little bit easier to get into and also very strong in supply chain management. And Michigan State Broad is much easier to get into than the two schools I just mentioned. And it's usually in the top 10 for supply chain management. So if you're going to look at your qualifications and you have that clear goal, well, maybe you're going to be competitive at MIT, but maybe you look at it, you say, I'm just not going to be competitive at MIT, but I still have this goal. Maybe I should apply to CMU Tepper, or maybe I should apply to Michigan State Broad. Again, it's a weighing of those two that's going to help you decide intelligently how to apply, where to apply to the schools. Furthermore, your MBA goal, your post-MBA goal can guide you in the event of multiple acceptances and can even guide you when you arrive on campus, right? In case of multiple acceptances, which program is going to help you best to achieve your goal at least cost? And where do you invest your time once you arrive on campus? What classes are you going to take? What extracurriculars are you going to get involved in? That will all be dependent, at least partially, if not totally, upon your post-MBA goal. Now, that's for you. That's the benefit for you. What about from the business school's perspective? Many programs actually seek applicants who have a well-thought-out career goal and ask about post-MBA goals in their applications. For example, Chicago Booth says it looks for, and I'm quoting now, a sense of personal direction and realistic expectations for the MBA. Wharton asks in its application, how do you plan to use the Wharton MBA program to help you achieve your future professional goals? You might consider your past experiences, short and long-term goals, and resources available at Wharton. 500-word essay. If it's asking, people sometimes ask me, what are the schools really looking for? They're looking for an answer to their question. So Wharton clearly is interested in your goals. And if it's unclear, inappropriate, or just not substantiated in your, not based in your experience and education, as well as the Wharton MBA, you're really, you're likely to get rejected. Very simple. Most schools want you to have ambitious but attainable goals because those are what's going to help you get accepted. Stanford, I heard many times in presentations that they've given that they want, big, awesome, audacious goals. Attainable, but ambitious. Now, acceptance in general, in a broad overview, is about showing that you both fit in at the school you're applying to and stand out in the applicant pool. And a well thought out, solid goal can help you do both. How can it help you show fit? Well, you want to show that you belong at that school like a hand in a glove, that the program that they provide will help you achieve your goal. It can also help you show purposefulness in the way you applied and that you know the program, you've done your homework, and it will help the school help you convince the school that you really do belong like a hand in glove. A purposeful, specific goal can also help you stand out in the applicant pool. And that's what you want to do because you're all applying to similar programs and to have somewhat similar backgrounds. But at the same time, you have to show them that you're going to stand out in some way. So you want to show that you're going to be that standout person who's going to contribute distinctively to the class, to the school's community, and ultimately as an alum who's achieving things, accomplishing things, and making an impact. Now, what makes up a good, clear goal? If you can define the function you want to fulfill and the industry in what you want to fulfill it. Function is what you want to do after your MBA, not study. And the industry is obviously your preferred industry. In some cases, location may be relevant and should also be included in your goal. For example, you want to work on Wall Street, or you want to work in Silicon Valley, or you want to work in emerging economies, or perhaps you want to return to your home country. Then, if that's important to you, then do include it also. Now, what if your goals, the people in the audience today, what if your goals aren't that clear? Well, then you have to clarify them. How can you do so? Start with online research. You want to, you can research different careers, career paths, salaries, all kinds of stuff online. But in addition, go beyond that. You also want to see which schools offer or place people in the kinds of roles and industries that you want to go into. For example, Vanderbilt places, I think, last I checked, it was something like 18-20% of its grads in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. If you're interested in those fields, Vanderbilt might be a school to consider, especially if you can't are not that competitive in, let's say, top 10 programs. So how do you go beyond the online research that I just mentioned to clarify your goal? Informational interviews and coffee chats. Try and contact people that are in positions that appeal to you, and you can do so via LinkedIn or via your social network, or perhaps the school's social student ambassadors and alumni ambassadors. And you can ask those people in these coffee chats, be prepared for them, be considerate of their time. What do you do all day? What do you like and dislike about your job? What skills do you value? What skills do you wish you would have acquired? What programs would you recommend? Where do people get hired from at your company? If the person you're talking to has an MBA, were they satisfied with the program they attended? Why? Why not? What did they particularly like? What did they particularly dislike? What classes were particularly valuable in their role and which were worthless? What did they wish they would have taken? And of course, there is also the option of professional career counseling to clarify your goal. Now, many of you will be thinking, if not actually saying, and you can post questions in the question window, which I will address in just a couple of minutes. What if I have, a goal A, a goal B, goal C. What if, and I can portray goal A as my primary goal, but what if I change during business school? I'm going to have all kinds of opportunities. I'm going to meet different people. I'm going to learn things. What if it changes? No problem. You're not signing a contract by stating a clear goal in your application. Schools expect that many applicants, if not most applicants, will change direction, but they want to see that you have taken a thoughtful approach to your MBA application decision and your career, because if you've done it before, they have confidence you can do it again. The fact that you've gone through a thorough process of identifying your goal and determining the best way to achieve it will help you as you modify your direction and goals as new opportunities present themselves. So let's turn this ugly duckling into your North Star. You want to intelligently choose where to invest your time and money, and you want to have a thoughtful approach to school choice. So, what are the benefits of a clear goal? Well, number one, they provide that thoughtful approach to school choice that many, many schools are looking for. They're also, again, they're a key element that some schools are going to look for. It's a key requirement for many programs. I gave examples of Chicago Booth, Wharton. Stanford asks, why Stanford? They allow you to show fit. They can also allow you to stand out from the competition in a way that can get the reader excited for your candidacy and really make them want to advocate for you in an admissions committee decision or discussion. To further help you with your MBA goals and school selection process, I want to offer you 2 free resources from Accepted. Accepted.com/YMBA will give you a free download on why MBA, and it'll go into a little bit more depth about formulating your goal. Why, yes, why it's important, though that part I hope you can skip after this presentation. And again, it's a free download, and you can get it at accepted.com/YMBA. Another free tool that will help you in not so much with your goal, but in choosing the best schools for you is our MBA admissions quiz. It's an assessment tool that will help you determine that you're applying realistically and competitively. And you can get that at accepted.com/MBA quiz. Now, finally, no webinar, presentation, live event, assessment, quiz, or download can match the benefits of one-on-one individual guidance and editing. We're talking about your professional future, and unless you've done this successfully for decades, you simply can't match the experience of Accepted staff. Whether you want comprehensive assistance and guidance with every step of the application, or you want just a little bit of assistance, perhaps a review of your application, maybe some help with a essay editing on your story or your Why MBA essay specifically, go to accepted.com and you can find an option that's appropriate for you. Now, I want to once again thank GMAT Club for hosting this event and inviting me to it. And now I'm happy to take your questions. Let's see what's here. I see, Venkat, you answered my initial question. I didn't see it before, but yes, you're 100% right. So are there any questions that I can help you folks with? All right. Well, we're waiting for you folks to post a question. I want to discuss something that's been on my mind lately and is, I think, kind of apropos. Not so much the why MBA question, but perhaps the when MBA application question. And as many of you know, in the United States, there's talk of recession. And there's a debate right now whether we're actually in a recession or not. I'm not sure where all our viewers are from. I assume they're from around the world. And I'm going to guess that some are in India. I don't know what the economic situation is there. I see we have a question here. I'm just going to finish my thought very quickly. My anticipation is that round 1 applications are going to be flat or down because the economy is still pretty strong here. But there is, welcome. I see somebody's from France. Welcome. All right, we're getting a lot of questions. I'm going to drop what I was talking about and answer your questions. Olivia asks, how do you start creating your personal brand? I've heard that is a big deal in applications. Okay, your personal brand is something you've already created. It's what people used to call reputation. It's the sum total of things that you are proud of, that you've done, that you've accomplished, that you've contributed to the world. That's your personal brand. I think that it's somewhat of a mistake to focus on brand in the sense that you want to have a jingle associated with your name. I mean, being facetious, or like a cow had a brand stamped on its hide that it's owned by this one person or one company or one entity. You want to present yourself as a multidimensional human being, and that's your brand. You don't just want to be the person who did one thing, a one trick pony. Let's say you grew sales for your company by 25% in 2 years. Well, that's an accomplishment you're proud of, and you should definitely talk about it. But you may also be a concert pianist who speaks 5 languages and loves ballroom dancing. That is a multidimensional human being, not just a great salesperson. I hope, Olivia, that I'm answering your question. Your personal brand is the sum total of what you've accomplished and who you are, and you have to convey that multidimensionality through your application. Okay, let's go on through some other questions. Olivia, I hope that helped. Markan says, hi, I have a law background. Kindly advise the roles, jobs I can look for after my MBA. Well, to a certain extent, that depends on what you do with your MBA. The MBA is a very versatile degree. You could go into consulting. You could go into investment banking. You could go into brand management, again, depending upon how you want to use your legal background and what you want to combine it. The law background won't really limit you as long as you have the skills and education required for whatever direction you want to take. Ashish asks, how truthful should I write about my post-MBA goal? I would be very truthful about it for a variety of reasons. One, the more truthful you'll be, the more enthusiastic and genuine you'll be, both in your essays and in your interviews, if you're lucky enough to interview. Number two, if you attempt to fake a goal that's not really you, doesn't really reflect you, you may end up applying to the wrong school. Because if you say you want to do X when you really want to do Y, and the school says, "Oh, great, we're wonderful at getting people into X, but we're not really good at getting people into Y," and they don't know about Y, you could end up at the wrong school. So I would be very truthful about my goal. The one thing I would caution you about is I wouldn't say, I want to work for Disney or I want to work for McKinsey. You can say, I want to work for a firm like Disney, or I want to work for a firm like McKinsey or like a Google or like Facebook. Because if you say you want to focus on one firm exclusively, that firm may not be hiring at the time that you graduate, or may be hiring on just a very, very limited basis. And then you seem very rigid and hard to place. But if you say, I want to work for a firm like whatever, or in industry, whatever, then that's fine. Okay. I hope that helped. Let's see. If I mispronounce somebody's name, I apologize. All right. So Vasundara asks, what is the best time to do an MBA? How much work experience is enough experience to apply for an MBA abroad? All right. Well, I was starting to talk about that before the questions started coming in, but I'm going to answer your second question first. The sweet spot for work experience, whether you're abroad or not abroad, is 3 to 8 years. If you're in that range, especially in the 4 to 5 year range, that's probably ideal, as long as you can show growth in your work. Now, what is the best time to do an MBA? In my opinion, again, assuming that you have enough experience, assuming you have the grades, assuming you have the foundational elements of a good application, and that's another question. I would say the earlier the better is the best time to do an MBA, provided you don't rush your MBA application. When I'm talking, I always say apply in the earliest round possible, provided, and that's in capital letters, you don't compromise the quality of the application. So I'm going to respond to that question, assuming we're talking about an excellent application. If you can put together an application for round 1 of this year, go for it. If you have everything in hand, go for it. If you don't have everything in hand, try for round 2. I'm not advocating submitting something that's mediocre or rushed or without the necessary qualifications in hand. But if you have those things, apply sooner than later. Why am I emphasizing that? In general, when you apply round 1, the classes are wide open. The schools don't know exactly what's going to happen round 2. And this year in particular, with unemployment very low in the United States, still, I think you are going to see low application volume, at least in the US. Application volume was higher from abroad last year. And I think that's going to make schools want to fill their classes a little bit more and be a little bit more generous with scholarship dollars. And there'll be a little bit less intense competition. I think possibly by round 2 and maybe more likely by next year, unemployment will probably rise as a result of the recession and the softening economy. And when unemployment rises, so does application volume and competition for seats at top business programs. So that's somewhat of a long answer to your question, Vasundhara, but I hope it helps. Okay, Yojana writes, I'm a chartered accountant, so can I consider my articleship as work experience? That's a good question. It's definitely experience. I'm not sure it's considered full-time work experience. Usually we're talking about paid work experience, not an internship. Okay, Venkat, how can we convey that we are clear on our goal as well as we are adaptable to other options as well, like we can perform a different function also? Oh, you can say my ideal is to do this and this and this. I would focus. Most of these essays and answers, especially the essays, don't give you a lot of room. So if you say my first choice is to go into this and this and this, some schools will ask you what's a plan B. Most do not. Most aren't. If they're not looking for it, make a good argument for your first choice, your ideal, your plan A, and focus on that. And as long as you define it as my ideal or my first choice, they will realize that there's some flexibility there. Okay? Good question, though. Actually, good questions from all of you. Thank you. Tanya asks, how? I have a compliance background. Can I combine my law and compliance background with the investment banking subjects? Thank you. Sure. Definitely. If you want to get an MBA and ultimately aim for investment banking, you can talk about your compliance background and your legal education as a foundation, add to it investment banking and the quantitative skills, and pursue that career. You should make sure that you can demonstrate strong quant skills, though. Law is not known. Lawyers, at least in the United States, are famous for not wanting to do math. They're good with words, but not with math. So, do make sure that you have either solid evidence of quantitative education in your background or a good quant score on the GRE or the GMAT or the EA if that's accepted by your schools. Vanayak, we have a great audience. They look at all these questions. Ask, should our post-MBA goals should stem from our current work experience, or could we relate with some interests we might have acquired from other experience? It doesn't have to be a straight line from your current job to your post-MBA goals. Most MBAs are using the MBA to change career paths in some level, some industry, some function, some both, some location. So it doesn't have to be a straight line. It definitely can be anchored in some other experience that you have. And you should be able to show some relevance from your past work to whatever you want to do in the future. But it definitely, it can be a change. That's fine. What options are there for post-MBA employability after MBA in finance for a chartered accountant? This is from Yojana. There are lots of options. I'm not sure I can give a 2-second answer on that on this call, and I'm not sure I'm the right person to give that answer either. But if you check out the employment reports at most MBA programs, you'll see which schools place the most people in financial services, and then make sure that you have competitive qualifications for those schools. But yeah, it's definitely a reasonable career path. All right. Jeffrey asks, I have a background in exhibitions industry 3 to 4 years. May I know if it is possible to change my career towards consulting post MBA? If it's possible, what program should I look for? Thank you. Okay. A little bit depends on what you've been doing in the exhibition industry. So you're going to have to make your experience relevant to your post MBA goal, whether it's, kind of a general management that you were in charge of logistics, um, you know, that will be your challenge. And I can't give you advice on that in this call. You should look at schools that have a high placement, generally general management programs, or those with focus on general management that have high placement in post and in consulting. If you want to post MBA, go into consulting, I'd recommend that you look. And again, I don't know what your qualifications are, so you also have to be qualified for the programs. But look at Harvard, Stanford, Dartmouth, Yale, Ross, Darden. These are all programs that do a lot of placement in consulting. Kellogg is excellent. Again, you have to be competitive for the programs that I'm naming, but those programs do have excellent placement. And then make your background in exhibitions and what you've done and accomplished and achieved, the management that you've exhibited, relevant to your future goal. Okay, Olivia asks, how long does it typically take to put together a quality competitive application? Assuming that you have the test score already in your background, and that your non-application qualifications are pretty much where you want them. I think for the first application, you're working full time, so this is not like you're working 8 hours a day on this. For the first application, I think you're looking at 2 to 4 weeks. For subsequent applications, it's usually 1 to 2 week per application, and with a caveat that you're working full time and have other responsibilities and that kind of thing. That means, by the way, that you can also submit some applications round 1 and some round 2 if you're not accepted from your round 1 schools. Okay, Vinayak Ray, do I also mention what are the pre-MBA prep I've taken to justify my target short-term goals that include certain courses, promotions, and job role, etc.? Well, the promotions and job role should be obvious from your resume, so you may not need to mention them all in an essay. Again, essay real estate is usually very limited. If you've taken courses, presumably you have a transcript that shows it. So that would, again, I'm not sure that would have to be in an essay because it's in the transcript that you're going to be submitting or should be submitting. And the promotions are in the resume. Now, what you could focus on is one particular achievement from your resume, go into a little bit depth about it, and talk about how it excited you about your goal or motivated you to pursue this goal. And that would give more context and weight to that particular achievement, while also showing that you've been thoughtful about your goal. Okay, Kartik. How should one shortlist schools apart from class stats and geography? Ooh, good question. Gosh, I've given webinars on that one. We also have a guide on choosing the right schools for you. And you can, I don't remember the exact URL, but if you go to reports.accepted.com and then click on MBA admissions guides, you'll see a bunch of guides. They're all free downloads. Any of you can do this, and then choose one that's on choosing your best school. However, in a nutshell, to answer your question, Kartik, by the way, you're a fantastic audience. I'm getting great questions. First, you want to look at schools that are going to support your goals, right? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense to apply to them, much less attend them. Second of all, you want schools where you're competitive. So if you can imagine a Venn diagram, and how do you know you're competitive? You have the GPA, you have the test score if required, you have the right amount and quality of work experience. You can show fit in terms of your values and the school's values. And you can also show that you're going to bring something distinctive to the program, okay, that they're going to value. So imagine a Venn diagram. One circle is schools you want to attend based on your career goal, geographic preferences, etc. Okay. And the other circle is schools likely to want you based on your stats, right? Your uh, again, the distinctive element that you're going to bring to the school, your experience, background, etc. Put them over each other. The middle place where they intersect are the schools that you should be applying to. I hope that made sense. Thank you again for a great question. Let's see. Kartik, I just did that one. Kushbu asks, which is a better option for MBA, 1 year regular course or a 2-year course? Well, I'm going to answer in true consultant fashion. It depends, Kushbu. If you are I know INSEAD, which is a 1-year program, says that its students are very, very successful in changing sometimes both career destination industry, post-MBA industry, and function, and sometimes location. They are a 1-year program. I think INSEAD can do that. I'm not sure it's a good recommendation or a good example for all applicants. I would probably be much more inclined to recommend a 2-year course if you can afford it. If the more dramatic career change that you want to make. If you want to advance in your current company or in your current field and just maybe move from middle management to senior management, or perhaps from a lower management role to a middle management role, and you need certain skills and education to do that, then I think the 1-year program is much better choice. In other words, you're aiming more for career enhancement than career change. If you're making to make a more radical change, maybe you're an attorney and you want to go into investment banking like somebody up above, or you want to go from a technical role to management consulting and general management, then I think the 2-year program and an internship becomes much more valuable. Okay, now actually Kushbu had a follow-up question, which I didn't see initially. It was, I have 10 years work experience in material management and supply chain management. I would strongly encourage you, Kushbu, to look into some of the Sloan Fellows program, either Sloan Fellows at London Business School or at MIT Sloan, in particular MIT Sloan. Another option might be the MS in leadership at Stanford, which used to be a Sloan Fellows program. These are all 1-year programs aimed at people with roughly 10 years of work experience or more who are in middle management aiming for senior management. Okay, Vanayak asks, by courses, I mean additional courses and certifications that I've taken from MOOCs, such as Coursera, etc., that won't be mentioned in my transcript. I would definitely include those somewhere. You might be able to include them in a box, somewhere in the application, depending upon the specific application that you're applying to. I think you can request a transcript from Coursera and have that added to your file. But I would ask the specific schools you're applying to. You can also, depending upon your resume and the resume requirements, etc., add it to your resume. I'm not sure if you want to mention it briefly in an essay, you can try and do so. But again, the essay real estate is very, very valuable. I wouldn't want to take up a lot of real estate, just listing courses that I took on Coursera, edX, etc. I'd really try and find another way to include that information in your application, but not use essay real estate for it. Okay. Karthik, I like that Venn diagram also. I think it was a very useful way to look at it. I'm glad you liked it too. Any other questions I can help you with? I think I've answered them all. You've provided some fantastic questions. And I want to thank you very much for joining me. And again, thank you to GMAT Club and Abhijit. Yes, and by all means, reach out to acceptance experts. Wait, there's one more question coming in. All right, so Lakish asks, which MBA would particularly help the most for people changing from military to corporate after having 10 years of work experience? It depends what you want to do in corporate. Most MBA programs are very welcoming to military people coming from the military because they have shouldered usually a lot of responsibility. They're self-disciplined, they have teamwork skills, etc. So I can't think of any one that is more welcoming than the others. Again, in general, it's very much a valued work experience. Um, and in terms of corporate, more clearly define what you want to do. You can do marketing corporate, you can do general management corporate, you can do finance in corporate, you can do logistics in corporate, you can do supply chain management. There's all kinds of things you can do in corporate. So I think you need to define that a little bit better. Okay, and with that, if you have additional questions, you can post them and on YouTube. You can post them in YouTube. I'll try and come back and answer them later. And I see there are a few more questions coming in. How do we include our freelance experience in resume? Just add a section for freelance experience, as long as it's significant. And then, what leadership qualities should define an elite MBA candidate? Managing a significant amount of assets, a significant number of people, motivating people, those would qualify. I think Dwight D. Eisenhower defined leadership as the art of getting others to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. I hope that helps. Again, thank you all very much for your attention, your time, and of course, your questions. Good luck with your application.